My next guest is I'm super happy to have him here, and this is the first time that he joins the show. His name is Elias El Achhab. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Kia Canada. Elias, are you there?
I'm here, Greg. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm super thrilled to have you here on the show, Elias, because you and I met a few years back when we were working for Hyundai. Can you share with the audience a little bit of your background? You've been the head of Kia Canada now for over a year, but how did you get here, man? What was your trajectory when it came to the car business?
Was maybe a little non-traditional. I actually started in the retail side, working in the service department. I worked there for many years, and after getting my engineering degree, I ended up joining Hyundai Canada, working on the compliance side, working for technical training, putting together service bulletins, compliance with Transport Canada, and got to know the car business more and more, got very excited, and eventually made my way over to the sales department. I was relocated to the East Coast for 3 years, came back and ended up being the national sales manager during the last major crisis, which was the 0809 financial crisis.
2009, yeah.
So, and that ended up being a very good time for us and helped me really push forward and grow and learn. And after that, I went on to work for GM Financial, the captive finance arm for General Motors.
General Motors, yeah.
The VP of sales for a few years and helped set up the new network. And then had the opportunity to move to Ottawa to run the Shiv Dilawri Auto Group, which I did for about 7 years before getting an opportunity to come back to Toronto, be closer to family, and be at helm with Kia Canada.
Are you originally here from Toronto, Elias?
Not born, but raised in Toronto, yes.
That's awesome, and congratulations on that trajectory, man. It makes me so happy when I see just people moving up in the world and just conquering everything. On a side note, what did it feel to switch from corporate to retail or private? Because that's a big switch when you went from headquarters to the Dilawri Group. The Dilawri Group is a massive powerhouse. What did you feel that was the biggest aspect of the transition there?
Well, it's a different world between corporate and retail, and each one has its pros and cons, of course. But on the corporate side, everything is very structured, and you have people to do everything, and you've got enough manpower and systems and funds to do what you need to do. And then you go over to the retail side, and you almost feel like a one-man show some days, and I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Of course.
Where you're running around, you're putting on a bunch of different hats, and you're jack of all trades, and you really learn to depend on yourself, and you have to really groom the people around you because they're not brought up to be, the more organized corporate style. They're not set up with the systems. They just don't have the tools that a corporate system would have. So you have to groom them and set them up for success. And if you do, then I think the benefits are massive. And then, of course, coming back to corporate, I had to go back the other way around and learn to let go of some things and go back to relying on the people around me. And maybe, clean up my language a little bit.
Yeah, that's something that you have some latitude when you go into the retail world. And what I can tell you from a personal perspective, Elias, is that that structure, mentality that you gain from corporate, I gained that from the Canadian Army, and they're very, very structured, very regimented systems. And when you set up the infrastructure for people to succeed, failure is really not really an option. And as simple as that may sound, it's amazing how much framework and structure makes a difference when you run organizations. But I have a question for you. You've been with Kia Canada now for over a year. What do you love about Kia? Can you tell the world?
Honestly, it's a combination of things. First off, I love the product. The car designs. Even when I was with the Dilawri Group, we had a couple of Kia stores, and you just can't get enough of the product. They're sexy designed. They're fully loaded with all the latest and greatest technologies. They're set up to be, a mix of comfortable, usable, practical. They're high-value car lines. But coming into the corporate structure, I also immediately fell in love with the team that we have here. The people are just so dedicated. They're incredibly smart. They're incredibly hardworking. They just needed to pull together as one team. And I mean, you can see the success that we're having. And, get to know some more Kia dealers. And we have a great dealer network spanning across the whole country. We have lots of strong dealers. We have lots of dedicated dealers, more so than I actually thought when I was on the retail side.
It's interesting because of all the times for anyone to take over a car manufacturer, the pandemic, you would have thought, oh man, this is not the right time. But somebody once says, never waste a good crisis. And in the middle of the pandemic, Elias, you guys are breaking all sorts of sales records. What's the secret? What are you guys doing?
Well, it's funny that you say that, never waste a good crisis. I never thought of it that way. But, pandemics or any sort of major crisis is, to me, a time to redefine a company, to redefine yourself. So it's a chance to either, bury your head in the sand or hunker down and just wait till things blow over, or it's a chance to take action because you know that most of your competition will be hunkering down. So that's the way we kind of looked at it. We're not happy to be in a pandemic, but knowing that everyone is trying to conserve funds and conserve money and save as much as they can and just lay back, we decided to be a little more aggressive. And, there's no silver bullet. It's a combination of things that we have to do. And like anything in any business, first off, the baseline of having the right product is crucial. And I do believe our product is one of the best out there. I mean, we've been winning the industrial quality study for J.D. Power for the last 6 years, number one, 6 years straight. Mm-hmm. The design has been fantastic. The value in the cars is great. But what we did was we tried to get everyone on the boat rowing in the same direction. So we all got together, including our dealer council, so representatives for our dealer body, marketing department, sales department, service departments. We got everybody to sit down and agree on one single direction that we're going to focus on. And we started off by doing everything we can to contribute to the people around us. And we did that by getting our plants in Georgia to convert the production lines to build the face shields, and we donated them to Public Health Canada. We had a few shipments come through.
It's amazing.
We then decided to take some of our funds and turn them into public service announcements, and not trying to point at anybody, but not fake public service announcements where, you make a good point and then you show off your product. We had none of our product, none of our information, nothing on the commercials. They were strictly public service announcements, mm-hmm. and they were all the commercials we had pre-purchased, the time slots we had pre-purchased prior to the pandemic. We converted them to something positive instead of trying to just get a refund. We donated to the Food Banks Canada network. And we actually ended up having about 40% of our dealer network also mm-hmm. get involved and contribute to the local chapter of
communities,
of Food Banks Canada. Yeah, and that goes a long way. And then when it was time to essentially strike and when the dealerships were opening back up and it was time to sell cars, we wanted to do something that resonated with
that made
consumers.
An impact.
Yes, because everyone was singing from the same song, and I mean everything that everybody was trying to do was meant to help. But the bank was deferring your mortgage, and the city was deferring your taxes, mm-hmm. and the utility companies were deferring your payments. But deferral. At some point, you got to pay the piper.
At some point.
So we didn't want to do the same thing. We wanted to have a bigger impact. So how do you make a bigger impact without deferring? Well, it was clear to us. We make your payment.
Yeah, that was the next. We'll make it.
We're just going to make it for you. So we actually broke the deal out with the banks, and so anybody that bought a car for a 3-month period, we would actually, and we still are getting some of those payments. We would get the bill, we'll make the payment for 6 months. And it really helps.
Sorry, Elias, this is fascinating to hear. But for those of you that are just tuning into the show, this is the Greg Carrasco Show here, and we are the largest automotive radio show in the country. And our special guest today is Elias El Achhab. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Kia Canada. And Elias, I have to tell you, thank you so much for for being here today and sharing all this stuff that happens in the background. You see, there's a lot of unknowns from general population when it comes to car dealerships, and what a lot of people don't know is the amount of work that goes behind the scene to bring a program forward that affects the general population. And I think that you've done an amazing job, explaining what goes on in the background. But I wanted to touch on something, Elias. Kia's product has been getting a lot of industry recognition lately, to the point that you guys are everywhere. Why is that?
You just can't help it. Why not? I guess at the end of the day, with all the positives that we have going for us. I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we are number one in J.D. Power's award for initial quality for 6 years in a row. I don't know when the last time or if ever a manufacturer has been able to do that.
That's pretty impressive.
We're number one in J.D. Power study for service CSI. We're number two for sales CSI. Our products have won numerous awards. Stinger was the HX Car of the Year. Telluride was World Car of the Year. Soul EV is the World Urban Car of the Year.
That's a pretty impressive lineup. And one of the things that I noticed, Elias, is that you guys just launched the new Sorento last week, and that's getting a lot of press. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
We're very excited about Sorento. Sorento, for the last 17 years, has been our number one selling nameplate. And it's a great utility vehicle that's good for families, good for towing, good for daily driving. It just doesn't matter. And we took a product that's already doing so well, and the factory's done a fantastic job completely redesigning it. I mean, other than the name, nothing is the same. From the engine, transmission, chassis, the seats, the size, the quality, the technology, it's just... If you haven't seen pictures, I would beg you to go online and Google the 2021 Kia Sorento.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive looking.
Yeah, you just can't help but be impressed. We're offering all kinds of different packages on it, and it's been resonating. The feedback we're getting so far has been phenomenal, and we haven't even, physically brought it to the dealerships yet. It'll be on sale in the next, 30 to 45 days.
I think that it's important that the consumer goes on the website and just type in, the new Sorento, and you're going to be amazed as to how much has changed on that product. I have to ask you this because it comes up here on the show all the time. What is my position when it comes to electric cars, and so on and so on. And my position is very clear, but the industry seems to be headed that direction. Is this something that Kia as a company is adopting, and what direction is Kia taking in relation to that?
Well, it's definitely, the industry is definitely moving towards electrification. We're already down that path, as you well know. And the manufacturers are kind of split. Half are for it and half are trying to resist it. But I think resistance is futile in this scenario.
Yeah, it is futile.
In our case, we were early adopters, and we do believe in electrification. We already have two vehicles that come in complete EV platforms, the Kia Soul EV and the Niro EV. The Niro is our green car lineup. It comes in hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and EV only. There's no straight gas alternative. And they both offer about 400 kilometers of range, and it's only going to get better and better. We already have plans, and we've already announced Plan S, which in the next 4 to 5 years will bring us up to 11 different EV models.
Wow.
7 of them being dedicated EV. There's no alternative other than EV. So it's already in our plans. We are already big believers. We think this is the way forward. And it has to be right for the consumer, of course. So some consumers will prefer a plug-in hybrid, and some a straight hybrid. And there's still room for gas models for the next little while, but at some point, I think the shift is going to take over.
It's going to have to happen. We are changing the power source of vehicles, and the demand is certainly growing. And I am a firm believer that once the cost get reduced and the availability for this product hits a critical mass, change will be inevitable. Now, that is happening from a power source for automobiles these days. But what about the retail side of things? How do you think that the pandemic has changed or is changing the way that people buy in cars? Because I can tell you, Elias, at my organizations, we never shut down during the pandemic. We made a decision to stay open to service the frontline workers, and I can tell you that almost 100% of all the transactions that we conducted were done through virtual retailing. So everything was done online. But the moment dealerships opened up, it seems like everybody reverted back to the old ways. How do you think that the way people change, purchasing cars is changing today?
Well, definitely. You made the comment earlier, which I use myself, is that our industry hasn't changed in 100 years in terms of how we sell cars. Customer comes into the dealership, they go for a test drive, they touch, they feel, they get provided some payments, they cross shop, and they make a decision. But the world is changing, and only a year ago we were having conversations in the business saying how the next 5 or 10 years are going to be crucial to our business, and they're going to have more change than the last 100 years combined. Well, I think all that kind of happened or is happening in 12 months now, not in 5 or 10 years because of the pandemic. I think it's accelerated what was inevitable, what was being maybe dragged on into a 5 or 10 year plan has.
Elias, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I have to completely agree with what you're saying. I think that the pandemic has severely, in a paralyzing way, accelerated the change that was inevitable. I think that we are dealing with issues that we're going to naturally get to 5, 6, 7 years from now, and right now the progressive acceptance of a dealer is what really making the difference in the outcome. Do you feel that your more progressive dealers, the more nimble dealers in their mentality, are doing a better job or having better success in the marketplace today?
Absolutely. You made the point about you selling cars while the dealerships were closed. We had dealers selling over 100 cars a month without opening their doors. And then, you have others that maybe not so much. So definitely the progressive dealers are making a difference. I want to do a quick shout out because we're blessed to have a lot of good dealers in the Kia network. And one of the reasons that I believe we're achieving all the record success that we are is that we have our dealers believing in what we're doing, backing us up, and investing. They actually went as far as to invest in our plan to market even before we launched it, and had the faith in our organization. I want to thank them for that.
It's amazing because I graduated university. In fact, Katie and Eric from 401 Dixie Kia, we went to university together, and that's where they met. Yeah, and they're very good friends of mine, and they have a pretty good operation there. But nothing happens without a strong dealer network, and I think that often we don't recognize the importance of a well-executed retail strategy by having a cohesive dealer group that they see the vision, and I think that you have been able to encapsulate that vision with Kia that hadn't happened in the past. How did you do that? And I know that I'm throwing this out of left field, but how did you manage to do that?
Well, I think my experience in the dealership side of things really came in handy and bought me a little bit of goodwill, I think, to start. So the dealer network was willing to give me a shot, and I appreciate that. And obviously, I wanted to make sure I didn't let them down. And I think it was more understanding the full picture. Probably the biggest problem with the OEMs in general, and I was guilty of that in the past, is that you've never been in a retail operation. And so you have a vision of how things work with consumers, yet you've never dealt with a customer. And you don't understand what they go through. You don't understand what the sales process looks like. You don't understand what the customer experience really feels like. And I think having an appreciation for that and having worked in that for the past 7 years really helps you put the full picture together and really understand your consumer in ways you never thought of before.
I think that you hit the nail on the head, Elias, here, and I think that that is what makes you a formidable opponent. Because look at it this way: when I'm not selling cars and playing with my dog and my kids, I like to fight. So I still compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and unfortunately, the pandemic has had a pretty big impact on this. But I would never take advice or direction from someone that hasn't been on the ring, in an actual fight. Theory is great until you put it in practical implementation, and I feel that there is a lot of disconnect between the theoretical planification of a retail effort and the actual practical implementation. And I think that you have been able to combine those two in a way that hasn't happened in an OEM here in Canada. And I can tell you, us, unfortunately, we're competitors, but there is enough customers for everyone, and that's the reason why you're here. That is appreciated. So, a question for you: what can you tell me about the future of Kia here in Canada, and what do you guys have in store for us?
Well, we're very excited about our future. Last year we celebrated 20 years in Canada, actually, so we're in our 21st year right now. We celebrated 20 years and sold our millionth car on the same year, so that was quite a landmark time for us. And we take the next step now as we have to look at the next 20 years and the evolution of Kia. We have a lot of big plans through our dealers over the next few months. We have a ton of product that is coming down the pipes. We launched Seltos earlier this year. It's been a phenomenal launch. Again, we launched it in the middle of a pandemic, but quickly growing to be the number 2 in its segment, and hopefully we eventually can get to number 1. And it's turning into our top volume model. We have the K5 that just launched and will be on dealer lots by the end of the month. All new, all-wheel drive family sedan. The Sorento that we mentioned earlier, that's coming up in the next month or two. And going into next year, we have at least 3-4 new products. We have some all-new, exciting product. I'm not in a position to give you any more detail other than I can say there are going to be...
You're going to do that to me. You're not going to reveal. Come on, you can share some secrets.
There are going to be surprises that no one is going to be expecting from Kia over the next 12 months, and we're just super excited to see them come to fruition.
Folks, you are listening right now to Elias L. Achhab. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Kia Canada. Elias, I have to thank you on behalf of the entire Carrasco Show listenership for taking the time on a busy Saturday morning to come and join your wisdom and your thoughts on Kia and the secret of Kia's success in the largest Canadian marketplace. I have to extend an open invitation, just like I've done with Don Romano and Steve Millett. You can come here anytime. Just give me the heads up, and we will open this platform to you that goes across the country. We are the most listened to automotive radio show in Canada, and also the most downloaded podcast. And this is available to you as a platform. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time to share your wisdom with us, and we would love to have you again. Elias, thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg. This has been great and a good way to spend Saturday morning, and love to do it again.